Okay. Hello, hello. Testing 1 2 1 2 3. Welcome to this edition of Live Solutions. It's a new one. It's been a long time. I just wanted to do one. Yeah, I wanted to do one a long time ago, but now I had some time for obvious reasons, and you also have some time, so why not? Let's do it now. If you're new to some of these new categories of videos, I'm not from America. I'm from Chile, a country in South America. So sorry for my English if it's not that good. But let me know if you can hear everything correctly. So the idea here is just answering your questions for an hour maybe. So questions related to technique, related to parts of songs or whatever other thing you have in mind, okay? I'm going to answer most of the questions. I'll try to, okay? Se escucha de pana. Voy a hablar un poco de español a veces. Sí, soy chileno. Okay. What is your heritage? I don't know what that means, but okay. So now I'm going to begin answering some questions, maybe playing something and trying to be as eloquent as possible. Try to be more specific with the little issues you have, so it's easier for me, of course. I mean it like don't ask how do I play slap, because there's a lot of things that I can say, right? Okay, where do you find your tabs from? It's nowhere, because I make every tablature, I make every bit of score or tablature that's in the channel. So I transcribe from 0 to 100 or something like that. How do you start with slapping? Yeah, that's more specific. I think we can do that. For starters, okay. Okay. So part of slapping is obviously just two things, mainly. You have your thumb and your index or middle finger to create slapping motion, or the popping motion as it is called. So I remember when I did these streams frequently, I had the words just to say it really fast, but I have to remember now. So it's related to using your thumb. I mean, for slap, using just like in the joint, right here in the hardest part of the joint, to slap on the strings, but it's never that hard to create the motion. It's just doing just a little bit of accuracy. You need to practice, I think, because for beginners, most of the time the sound will be something like a really inconsistent sound, and it will sound kind of like a fleshy and not like you're kind of doing percussion. So most of the time will sound something like this. And it will obviously not sound consistent or good. So that's from achieving just using that part and being accurate on slapping with only that part of your finger, and also trying to do the correct motion. It's, as most people say, it's all in the wrist in this case. The motion you have to do is almost like doing this. And that's the motion you have to practice. You can also practice it without your bass, just tapping on something, right? But that is the motion you want to create. After some practice, of course, it will sound better, and you will be able to create more dynamic differences. You'll be able to play just really soft and hard, and obviously faster, because at the first time you will probably do something like this, and trying to do a little bit more speed will be probably hard. So for me it's hard also. So after you manage that, being consistent, you can do some exercises, just, I don't know, something like this. Or whatever, and you can just try to be as accurate and consistent as possible. That's just trying to be with the same intensity for each hit, right? That's important if you're a bassist. Always with the wrist. And then the other part is related to your index or middle finger. I try to use both. I think using both it's a really good idea, but you can begin with your favorite one and just, I think the motion is a little bit easier. You have to just place your finger behind the string and just do the same motion, the same wrist motion, and just release it from behind, right? To create the slapping sound. It's a rebound slapping sound, because you have to kind of like tense the string, and the string will pull itself on its place and will just hit against the bass, right? So just practicing with your open string, open G string, and also caring on having a consistent sound. When you are a beginner, probably your fingers will be suffer, obviously, so the sound will be a little bit, a little less like mine probably. You know, it will be a little more tender in some cases. But after you develop some hardness on the tip of your fingers and in that part of your thumb, it will be quite easier to get that sound, right? So the idea is mixing both, and for that you need to slap in whatever part, maybe here on the 5th fret, A. And you can do, I think one of the most common things to do in slap bass is octaves. So for playing an octave, you just have to go into the A and locate the upper register A, you know, an octave higher. So in whatever case in bass, your octave is always there. So it's in this case 7th fret of the 2nd string, D string, right? So you have a slapping and popping, and try to do both in I think it's good for beginners. Just go with 8th notes, so something like this. That's a well-balanced sound, I think, but if you are a beginner again, it will sound a little bit more all over the place, a little bit more maybe you will not just be as accurate, so you need to be patient and just maybe look at your playing a little bit more, so you're aware of where you are landing with your fingers, right? So the best exercise for just beginning and creating both motions at the same time, I think it's something like this. Maybe then you can switch all over the register. And trying the same in A string and G string. Right? So, I don't know. You have some questions about what I just said, or can we move on? I know it's a quite an intensive slap lesson, but I think I don't know, it works. Okay, what are some good exercise or ways to develop speed, accuracy, and endurance in your left fret hand technique? Okay, speed, accuracy, and endurance, left hand. Okay, so warming up is a really important part of practicing. You need to do it. I need to do it more, probably. We all need to do it more, and just recently I discovered some exercises that my teacher gave me, and I think it's a good idea to develop something like this, but you can do it in your own way. So the important part, obviously, is having good technique. If you have a really bad technique, you'll be just expending too much energy all the time, right? So it's important for that to remember your left hand technique. First of all, is never bending your wrist, being as straight as possible, and that's the way you move throughout the whole bass, right? So you begin right here in this position that you can call maybe first position. It's an open position with each finger on each fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then probably when you do that, your wrist will be something like this, right? And you will feel really, really tense. So the idea is just to back it up a little bit and being as straight as possible with your arm, right? And wrist. So if you have your arm a little bit right here, it will be really hard to do it. But if you go up with your arm a little bit right next to the bass, parallel to the bass, if you can see, it's a little bit easier to just reach and have a straight wrist, right? So we begin like here, and when we're going down on the bass, the movement, I mean the arm just like retrieves backwards, and the idea of that is maintaining the straight wrist all the time, right? So it's straight, 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 straight all the time. So that's the main movement that you need to have. The other thing is being aware of your fingers, just using the tip of the fingers and then doing some warm-up. So the first warm-up I think you need to do, maybe a little hard to do on first position, so you can do it first in 5th position or in the 5th fret. Just going, remember we always call your fingers 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can notice I have always my wrist is really straight while I'm doing this. I try to keep it as straight as possible. Maybe sometimes you won't be able to keep it really, really straight, but the idea is just to go into that place, you know, because that will create less tension, and you'll be able to go faster and more accurate, right? So up and down. Maybe the speed for practicing will be something like this. Always go slower so you can notice what you're doing, right? You need to notice if you're keeping your wrist really straight, and if you're using the tip of your fingers, and if you're relaxed all the time. You need to be really, really relaxed, and your thumb has to be always in the middle and behind the fretboard, never on top, right? Something like that. So for getting to the stamina that I just presented, maybe something like this, and maintain it all the time, it will be just time for developing something like this. I think you will need a lot of time and practice, but if you maintain a correct technique, you'll be able to just do it a lot of time and being accurate and all that. But it's hard. It's really hard to pull off. And doing that exercise is kind of a linear exercise. It's maybe not applied to a real life scenario in which you will maybe need more. I don't know how to say it. You need to be a little bit different in the way you place your fingers, because scales are not like this all the time, right? They're not a linear. So good exercises for that, I think, is training with combinations of finger positions, right? So now that we have this on the 5th fret, try to move it over here, and it will be really, 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 really difficult to create. So as you can see, it's difficult to maintain the same straight wrist, so I need to kind of like have a really, really good position and lowering the arm, okay? Lowering your arm a little bit will get you there. And as I go to the thicker, I mean from the E string to the G string, my arm also moves a little bit. I begin here and I move. It's a natural adjustment that you will be making. I don't know if you have some time practicing, but you have to create it so it becomes natural. So it's a lot of practice just to go from all of those things I just mentioned. Right? Something like that. I think that's the more how could you say, ergonomic idea, but there's many people that break that rule and create their own maybe supply on technique. But I think the scientific idea is just not tensing up your tendons, and if you're just playing with your wrists bent, that will create tension and you will feel it, right? It's like on your right hand, you also, the ideal position of your right hand is something like this, right? Not tensing up in any way. But it's a little bit harder and I don't like it really. And I just prefer to do it like this, but I know the more efficient way is doing it like this. And if I have to do something really, really fast, maybe I will switch to this position. I don't know. It gives you a little bit more speed, just because you're creating less tension, right? What was I saying? I don't remember. So let's move on for another question, maybe. I think that's the idea with technique to create accuracy, speed, and whatever. But most of it will be developed in time. So you need to be patient on some things, right? I remember when I played the Hysteria cover from Muse. That was really hard to do at the time. I think it's not a really good video, I think, but I just keep it up because I'm planning on doing some redos of covers, but that wasn't really well executed because I was playing really soft to maintain the time that I needed to do throughout this whole song. You have to be doing this. And if you do it for about 4 minutes, it will be really, really hard, right? But after some time, you develop your strength, and it will be really easy to do it even faster. I don't know. But it takes time, okay? Exercises for moving just the pinky. Okay, so that's the... I think it's regarding to independence of your fingers, and that's also really, really important. So let's go to that idea of warming up that I was just telling you. Something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just create more independence on your fingers, right? So you can do something like 1, 3, 2, 4 as a kind of like as a mold to go all over your register. So 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, and then you can also move and do it all over the fretboard. Also backwards, right? I mean, you go 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, and you go back 4, 2, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 1. Right? Something like that. So the idea there is just creating a difference in your fingers. It's when it's 1, 2, 3, 4. When it's just linear, you will just create this motion all the time, right? But creating independence in your fingers, it's a little bit more challenging. So that's an easy one. You can create more, as I think you can begin with 1. Then you just go with all the combinations, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 4, 1, 4, 2, 3, 1, 4, 3, 2, all the combinations, right? So there's an exercise I do for that, and it's just with all the combinations of 1. And you can do all the combinations of 2, 3, 4, and more and more and more. But this works a little bit. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back. I do 1, 2, 4, 3. And go back. 1, 3, 2, 4. One, 3, 4, 2, and back. 1, 4, 2, 3, and back, and finally 1, 4, 3, 2. So that's the whole combinations of one finger, right? I do that without stopping in between, right? Something like this. Ah. Right, something like that. obviously that speed is not the recommended speed to go with it. You need to go something like this, with whatever combination you need, right? And that's a good idea. And for developing exclusively your pinky, I think you need to do something like this. Maybe just creating combinations like 1 4 3 4, or maybe just 3 4, and trying to create that independence, because that independence, the independence between 3 and 4, it's I think the most complicated. You have to do something like this. Right? That is the difficult part, and for that you need also good technique to create all this practice. If you're not doing it with good technique, you're just not creating the necessary muscle memory that you need to create, right? So I think it's important to remember the straight wrist part, the thumb behind the fretboard, fingers really softly playing with the tip of your fingers all the time. Not much of the flesh. Try not to do something like this. Just using too much of your finger on the strings, just the little part of the tip of your fingers, right? It always needs to be some space right here, some space between your hand and the fretboard. And also the motion needs to be really in order, right? You need to do with, if you're doing 1 2 3 4, you have to go 1 2 3 4 with all the fingers pressed, then moving to the side with this finger, index finger, just doing a little bit of a movement to the side, and then 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, just like a little spider, you know. Right? Okay. More questions? Hey, I just want to say that your videos are really, really helpful. As a beginner, you have to help me learn songs throughout your tabs. Every time I play along to your vids. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Bass. You're called Bass. Okay. I have a Mr. or Mrs. I don't know, BJR Ha. Thanks for your donation. Do you have any tips on learning songs quickly? Okay. Most of I think that knowledge comes from a knowledge not related to bass itself. It's more related to music and music theory, right? Learning songs quickly. For doing that, you need to create a long. How do I say it? A really big pool of different theory and experience that will give you the response time to go and understand, okay, what I'm hearing is that note, what I'm hearing is regarding that harmony and that chord and all of that, right? For that, you need to go and study a lot of music theory, I think. But tips for this is just go and transcribing, really, and just doing the job that I do. It's transcribing will give you that experience, because if you go sit down and just put on whatever a song and try to listen to the bass and maybe have your bass and finding the note and saying, okay, that's the note. Now I write it down and I write the rhythm and all of that will give you kind of like an abstraction of what you're doing, and you will record to your imagination just to understand, okay, what comes now is that, what comes now is that chord and whatever. But if I could give you some tips on learning songs quickly, it would be related to that, I think. It's not an easy question, I think. But developing your ear is really, really important, I think. Developing mainly your ear and practicing with that, maybe creating some interval exercises, having some ear training app on your phone. It always works. But mostly it's just experience, I think. I don't know. It's a really difficult process, even to mention. I think a little bit. It's a really difficult process to just dissect in different parts what I'm trying to do. But I don't know, if I pick a song or whatever thing, the first thing I go with is instinct now, right? It's trying to develop some auditory instinct. But at the first time, you need to be aware of what you're doing. If you find the first note, understand, okay, what chord is this and what harmony I'm in, it's the really more important thing, I think. But yeah, if I think of something like that, I maybe say it, but it's a hard question to answer, I think. Thanks to Juan da Lol 1985. Okay, I'm not doing requests on songs right now, but this is more related to questions and answers. I don't know how much time do we have on our hands right now. I think a little bit more than half an hour. So more questions maybe, or maybe I don't know. I was just thinking about something related to transcribing or learning songs by ear. It's really, really difficult to get into that place, but I think the most important tool for me right now is learning music theory, so I can understand better where I'm placed with my ear. Right, having a good ear is just a thing that you can develop, but if you develop a good ear and you have no study background, you will just never understand the chord, if it's a minor or major chord, if it's the what grade on the scale is, if it's tonic, if it's subdominant, if it's dominant, all of that. I think it's really important. So maybe you can ask me something about that in other videos. I'm trying to have the time to create a stream related only to music theory. I think I want to do something like that. I wanted to do something like that for a long time. So some bassists say that slapping with the thumb down is a bad technique. So how can I slap if my bass is low at my waist level? In the type of band I play, having the bass high is not good. I think you're just spamming your question. I already read it, but I don't understand what you mean by with this thumb down. I don't understand what you're referring to. What do you mean thumb down? I think you need to clarify on that. Maybe be a little bit more specific so I can understand, because slapping with the thumb down is bad technique. No, what do you mean by that? The only thing I know is that I see a lot of bassists playing, slapping like this. You know, kind of like the thumb bounces off the string, and there's another type of technique in which people just go and rest the slapping thumb right on the next string, right? Something like this. Right? That's another form of doing it, but I think I need more info to go with that. También me puede hablar en español si es que habla español. La razón principal por la que no estoy hablando español todo el tiempo es porque la gran mayoría de las personas que existen en este canal son de distintos países, y distintos países, al parecer, ahora nos entendemos con un poco de inglés. Creo que todos conocemos un poco de inglés. Así que esa es la razón por la que principalmente hablo inglés, ¿no? Entiendo claramente que hay una comunidad latina. Sería muy estúpido de mi parte no conocerlo. Y les mando saludos, obviamente. Pero esa es la idea principal, ¿cierto? ¿Me entienden o no? ¿Por qué lo hago? Yo creo que sí. Sí, yo creo que sí. No es por traicionar a Latinoamérica en ningún sentido. Okay. So, you can speak Spanish? Yeah, because I'm from Spanish, actually. I'm from Chile, and so that's why I can speak it. But I don't know. It's good that you don't notice, because I think it's quite obvious that I have a Latin American accent or something like that. But I don't know. I've been practicing just a little bit. How do I train my ears better to hear which note are which? I think that's very related to what I was just saying. Training your ears better to hear the note is just kind of like I think the most important technique or tip that you can develop on that is trying to sing the note, and trying to understand it in your mind first, and then going into your instrument. I don't know if I put whatever song and I just hit on the note when I'm playing on the strings, right? Maybe some of you have seen some of the streams when I play, and I play by ear, and maybe I most of the time I don't know what's the song, and I just go and try and place it, and I eventually kind of like find the note. But when I have that information, it's just kind of like a try and an error, and after a long time of practice, and it will just be a little bit more natural, maybe, to think about it, right? But I think most importantly is to, again, understand theory. Okay, so I see that most of you that are asking questions want to know something about that. So I'm really going to think about doing some kind of stream related to that process. I know that process in which I have to apply all those things, theory and many other things, right? what is the hardest song you know how to play? I don't know. That's kind of like a subjective thing to say. I think. Um, I don't know how would I classify this song to be the hardest. Right? There's some fast songs, obviously, but fast is not always hard. When you try to understand some things with time, you get that conclusion most of the time. uh, Fast is not necessarily the hardest, or more technique is not necessarily the hardest also. That's really important to understand, I think. um, because I know trying to develop a good solo, improvised solo, it's quite hard. Or trying to learn uh, a difficulty in other matters, right? If you listen to some bassists, maybe they will play just little things in speed, but it will be really hard to have control and technique to do it. Maybe because you have good dynamics on your playing, and that's some things that maybe some of you um, always pass behind, and it's really really important that you try to understand that it's quite difficult to play maybe something like this, playing soft and fast and changing. Obviously, being fast is hard, but there's other types of techniques that most people and most beginners and intermediate players even go past it, and they say most of the times in the comments, okay, I mastered this song. And probably I always think maybe he just went with all the notes and all of that, but there's more to it in interpretation, also in tone. Being clean with your technique is also very hard. So I think I don't know. I just went other other way with your question, but um, how can I improve my fingers stamina? You can go back on the video because I just gave some. I mean, after it's finished, you can go back, and I think I gave some information about that. Um, mm, 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 mm. No voy a tomar peticiones de música esta vez, solamente cuestiones relacionadas con preguntas y respuestas. Nada más que eso. Em, por hoy, o por ahora. Em, how many years are you playing bass? Oh, I think it's been about 8 or 9 years now. It's been a long time. And most of it's quite funny because the process of playing and getting better, it's all recorded. The first video I uploaded, I probably had about a less than a year or 6 months of just playing, but bass, right? Because I played guitar before, but all the learning process is made in the channel actually. So that's really interesting to think about. Um, okay, so Alejandro here has some clarifications to the other question related to the thumb down on slapping. Let me see if I can understand it better. Um, hmm. I don't know if I understand, but usually when you're slapping, your thumb will be on this position, like it's bent backwards. After you play a lot, it will just be like that, kind of like in a normal scenario. But yeah, the idea is just to go with it, because that way you can have more precision on just playing with the joint, right? We use the joint of the thumb because the joint is the hardest part, and it will give more attack on the slapping. But I'm still not sure if I'm answering correctly. So let me know. I think we're a little bit closing in on this. It's been fun. I don't know. It's been a little bit weird, I think, because it's been a long time that I didn't do that. But you can let me know if it's good, and if I need to be more clear about things. If I need to improve it in some things, you can let me know, because I want to do this more now. I want to create maybe a section of this on Fridays. Fridays will be the day of lessons, I think. So if you have questions, you can prepare them for Fridays, because I'm going to try to give some lessons about what I've been learning, right? So you can let me know if it's Fridays. It's good. Fridays, maybe some other day. You can let me know about all of that. Okay. So no quiero tocar canciones ahora, lo siento, porque así el video puede quedar quizás monetizado, porque quizás alguna cosa puede quedar con copyright. Pero si toco alguna canción, se me va la posible monetización. Así que espero que entiendan por qué lo hago de esa forma. Pero pronto haré un stream de solo tocar. What gauge are your strings? And that is, I think I'm using 45s most of the time. I used 50 one time, and I really didn't like it. It was too thick, but maybe it's because I'm just a little too accustomed to playing 45 all the time. You're right. I think it's a good idea to change thickness if you're playing on really low tunings, so it's more tense. If you're playing things that are just related to more dark tones, maybe even jazz or maybe metal, in which you need to be more a little bit more dark and less bright. And I never used thinner strings, so maybe it's not a really good opinion on me, but I use 45s all the time. It's kind of like the standard thing. I like using just the standard thing most of the time, really. Good morning. It's a good night over here. So I've been watching you for a few months now. I love watching you. Reminds me of my love for bass guitar. You are so good. Thanks. Thank you very much. Okay. I think we're good for today. I know there may be more questions, but I think I'm going to leave them for another stream. I don't want to be really. I don't want to extend myself on this, so it's more watchable, I think, because 2 hours is a little bit too much. So hopefully you will understand me. It's hard for me, trying to pronunciate well, and also trying to play, and trying to figure out what you're trying to say sometimes. Um, but I think it's better than the Live Solutions #1, in which I didn't have that much English vocabulary, I think. But no, I'm not in America right now. I'm in Chile, actually. It's a really strange time here, because besides the virus, there's some things going on here. Maybe you can search for it. But we're trying to do something about it, as people, because I don't think politicians are doing anything right. We're trying to manifest as people, so it's been hard. Um, Maybe we can talk about it another time, for sure. Okay. Okay, so it's time to say goodbye. I think it's been a pleasure as always. I just wanted to say again, as I say every time, thanks so much for creating this for me. Actually, I say it a lot of. I don't want to say like I don't want to sound like I want to create some kind of a business emotionality over here, but I always say it because it's true. If it's not because of people that are supporting the videos, supporting the channel, supporting via Patreon, that's the most important thing. There would be no me, really, and there would be no channel, and probably most of the things that I have the privilege to do are because of people. So that's a really important and a strong message, I think. So I'm gonna leave you with that, I think. Thanks too much. I always forget to say your names on the chat, but thanks so much to everyone that was here. Okay, take care, and I will see you. I think I will do this, as I said, Fridays. So I'm going to think about it and see how it goes, and we'll see each other next Friday. Okay. Be safe, of course. Wash your goddamn hands. Okay. Goodbye.